If you love entertainment, current events, and Hollywood, don't miss Creator to Creators, hosted by the filmmaker Mio Shabin, known for the Shudder hit documentary Horror Noir and the acclaimed film Anatomy of an Anti-Hero, Redemption. This show features interviews with filmmakers and creatives from around the globe. Join the fun with guest celebrities and gain valuable insights. Subscribe now and follow Creator to Creators.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators today. Today we have a special guest.
Hello. My name is Apaulo8, representing Third Borough.
I'm Justin Werner. Yeah, we're happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. So, I love going back to the beginning. I always say the beginning charts our trajectory in life, our little habits we pick up along the way, follow us into our adulthood. Tell me a little bit about, whoever want to start first, a little bit about your childhood. What was that like? And kind of when did the love for music begin for each of you?
You want to start, Justin? Then I'll go second.
All right, cool. Actually, when I was born, kind of an interesting story. My brother had just gotten into an accident. It was a really bad accident. It actually put him in a coma, and he had broken his arm. He had broken his right arm, and he loved baseball and playing sports and stuff. So he couldn't play any sports, and for a long time, he wasn't able to do anything. So my dad got him a guitar. And so he started playing a guitar. And basically, when I was born, Tommy had a cast on. It's my brother's name. Tommy had a cast on his arm, and he was playing this guitar. And I became obsessed with his guitar. And I would crawl into his room. I'd go in there and I'd break all the strings on his guitar until they finally got me. I guess it was like the Terrible Twos or something like that. And they finally got me my own little toy guitar when I was 3 years old. And I guess it just never left my side. And I finally, started learning. My brother was the first one to teach me my first few chords. And I was pretty hooked at that point.
I love that.
So for me I was obsessed with music. I was just singing nonstop always. And my mother made rules: no singing at the dinner table, no singing in the grocery store, no singing in the car, because I would just drive her crazy with singing. And I also was just dancing and singing. I've kind of naturally always been a performer. I actually got on stage, I think, around 7 years old. And for my birthday at 9 years old, I have a recording of me singing La Bamba. I begged my mom to take me to a music studio, and it was called Center Stage in Tucson, Arizona. And so that was that's kind of been my first recording session. Was 9 years old, and I sang La Bamba by Richie Valens, and I was obsessed with the movie as a child. But yeah, music has always been there. I've always been a singer, dancer, and it's just been my, I guess, addiction, you could say, since I was a little boy.
It's a great addiction to have.
Yeah.
I love that. First of all, I want to just, congratulate you guys on your new single, Blood Like Yours. It's so different, and I really like, it's haunting as well. But before we get to that, I want to know, how did you guys meet? And you guys blend so perfectly well together.
Thanks. Thank you for that. Polly and I met in San Diego at a mutual friend's house about, almost 20 years ago now, if not longer. Actually, I would say it was like 2004 when we first met. And we were both couch surfing. We were just starving artists, making our way. And we kind of hung out, started projecting out a little bit and just having fun with music. And then we realized we had a good chemistry and started getting a little bit more serious, and then formed this band, Third Borough. But it all just kind of started naturally.
Yeah, like organically. I love that.
Yeah, Justin and I, we met in Ocean Beach, San Diego, and he was just playing guitar, singing, and I'm more of a rapper than a singer guitar player, but I know I obviously do both. But I remember just being very impressed with Justin of how talented he was, and it really inspired me to just push my craft. So seeing Justin, like, I instantly wanted to start working with him because he was such an amazing singer and guitar player. So it was just almost like he was teaching me, how to be better. And even singing with him definitely helped me sing better. He would like be like, "Oh, you're a little sharp here, you're a little flat here," and like help me sharpen my singing up. And I think I also brought kind of more of a hip hop element to Justin's style where I was rapping, which he wasn't really doing. And I'm a DJ as well and making beats and stuff. So
Nice.
we kind of helped sharpen each other's swords in different genres. He helped sharpen my singing. I helped sharpen his love for hip hop and pop music and stuff. So we kind of just naturally could we complemented each other where we had weaknesses in other things. So it was a really good, like you said, chemistry was just perfect. How we came together.
Yeah, no, it's great. I read too, since Blood Like Yours was originally conceived in 2015. How did the writing and the recording process change over the decades before the release?
So yeah, it started with Ollie and I just doing our thing in his living room when he lived in Imperial Beach. And I would cruise down there. I lived a little further north in Ocean Beach, and I would just cruise down and visit him, and we would, write songs. And sorry, this thing keeps. Um, and it was actually Halloween was coming. We were like, it's like Halloween's in a couple months. We were like, let's have fun, And so we came up with Blood Like Yours first, and we were using Ableton Live, and Polly, I really don't know how to use that program, but Polly does, and so he had a little keyboard, and so I started pulling a little line out of the keyboard, and Polly was putting some drums together and stuff, and next thing you know, I remember one moment distinctly is I'm sitting there in the chair, and Polly comes up to me like he had this major epiphany. He's like, we had already gotten through the first verse, and I'd written my verse, and he wrote the other half of the first verse. And we're sitting there trying to figure out what are we going to do for the chorus. And he was like, I got it. He's like, it is a blood like yours. It is a blood like. I was like, that's it. And so that's kind of where it all began. That's my memory of it anyway.
Yeah, it's very similar in my memory. We were like doing a Halloween album, and Justin, it was Justin's idea to do a vampire song. And so Blood Like Yours, we just started creating the music, and it just wrote itself. I don't remember putting a lot of effort into the lyrics. They were just kind of just, I call it the holy moment. When you capture the holy moment, just it's like when a basketball player can't miss his shot.
Right.
It's like that with music too. When you're just in it, and we just locked in. The song wrote itself very fast, effortless. It was just really fun. It was more just like us having a good time. Didn't feel like work at all. And the song it came out, and we wrote it then, and like you said, that was so long ago. So when we brought it to the band, it definitely changed and just got better and better and better. So it was a work in progress. That was more like for fun. When we added the band to it is when it became the masterpiece it is now. So, I would say what me and Justin wrote together was more like almost a rough version of the song,
Yeah.
but got the foundation built then. And now we have, we've hired like all these classically trained musicians that are, well, our bandmates, but had them all come in and we turned it into this. I told the last interview, we kind of formed like Voltron with what this became. And so that's how it became our single and our main push for this album.
I love that. There's a part of the song, I mean, well, the beginning, and I think it's some ad libs. I think it was the lady's voice. I wasn't sure. I was going to ask whose voice was that did the ad libs. I thought that was kind of interesting to add with the music, the song.
It's actually it's like a public domain old film that we found.
Oh,
We found this old, yeah, this old vampire movie. I forget the name of it. and we got these nice little clips out of there, and it kind of inspired the song a little bit too. But yeah, it was just random movie we found.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
we wanted a sample that we could use, like illegally use. So
Yeah.
Justin's like, let's go through public domain and look up old movies. And yeah, I don't remember the name of the movie either, but it was a really old. I think it might have even been black and white, but it was a really old vampire movie, and we kind of scanned through the movie and picked our favorite scenes that were the lyrics, and we chopped it up too. So like, we put the best parts and combined them together and created samples from the public domain.
That's awesome. I read too, like beyond the Lost Boys and other films, music or culturally touchstones influence the atmosphere of the storytelling of, you know, Blood Like Yours. Um, like what, like, and I'm sure the process, like you said, it was effortless, but like, for me, I'm kind of a person that's like a perfectionist. So I don't like, how do you know when you're like, all right, I'm not going to go back and we're not going to correct it. This is good as it's going to get, like unanimously, like, because you have multiple people to like, you two are kind of talking like, okay, this is done. We're not going to go back and correct it anymore.
Well, we have a process. At this point, we've been doing it for a long time, so we've gotten this little process, kind of like the Trinity is me, Polly, and Ibo. And Ibo is the guy that's not here right now, but he's kind of like the magician behind the board, and he's he really helped co-produce this thing, and he brought it all the way. He really dusted this thing off. He took the diamond and he shined it up, and of course you can be a perfectionist to the point to where you just don't ever put it out because it's never going to be perfect. So you have to accept it at a certain point for its imperfections. As a matter of fact, you have to like the imperfections too. At a
Yeah.
certain point, you have to kind of like enjoy that balance. And so it got to that point where we were like, I like this. I think it shows some human touch, but it shows that we're very serious and we really care about what we're doing here. And so Ebo's very good at that. He's really good at bringing it to that point to where we all agree and
Yeah.
say this is awesome. You know.
Yeah, that's a great question actually, and I definitely agree with Justin. I always say it's really easy to make the song 90% done, and that last 10% is very hard. That's when the work and it's really fun to get to the 90% completion and then to get that last 10%. And we always are bettering ourselves as musicians every day, so you can always, like Justin said, you can always just keep critiquing, but what I like, a song I like to bring up is Biz Marquee, "Baby, You Got What I Need,"
Oh
and how
yeah.
he's a little off key in certain parts of the chorus, but you like that he's off key. You feel the human in him. It's a classic hit song, and so I think when everything is perfectly pitched correctly and it just sounds too robotic, it takes some of the human out. And so I like what Justin was saying. You almost have to like some of the imperfections in the song and just at one point when it just feels right, I think that's kind of when we're like, this is done. Because yeah, you can definitely I've overproduced songs where they were great and then just spent so much time mixing them that it took the human out of it.
Yeah.
And song, even though it was now perfect, it didn't have the same mass appeal and feeling that it started with. So there's a happy medium there,
Yeah.
and you kind of have to just, I think it's more based on feeling rather than perfectionist, because when it feels right is when it's done, and when you just overproduce it won't feel right. So you have to find that and then Ebo is that man for us. He's the guy. So like we'll bring it to Ebo, a diamond, and he does the cuts and the polishing and does the last 10%, you know.
That's awesome. I love that. And speaking of human, a question about the album, The Human Quest. The Human Quest suggests a broader, more expansive theme. What aspects of the human experience have do you guys explore throughout the record?
Um, great question. So we explore as much as we possibly can, about life itself, and considering one of the songs on there was actually written about 15 years ago when we made our first album. We've had a lot of time to go on that quest, you know, and
Yeah.
so the title kind of represents that time, that period in time, and then there's a lot. I mean, you know, we go through the whole love theme. We take love into different contexts, like the vampire one. Then we take it to more of like a fun Candyland, and then
Mhm.
you know we also touch upon other subjects as well, like rising above, you know, adversity, you know, overcoming the trials and tribulations of our lives, uh, joining together and you know uniting, you know, also trying to think of the songs themselves. That's why I'm kind of sifting through here, but you know, controlling the fire is one that I'm thinking of in particular. We, you know, kind of also bring up the children and how we need to, you know, keep them in mind and whatever we're paving for the future, we need to, you know, have them in consideration. Another song that we have called Out of Pretense. It's kind of about navigating through the the weird things that you can go through in life, like the games people play and the things that happen, and like, you know, just kind of finding your way to the other side. And so yeah, I mean, it's all encompassing, like everything from love to the you know the fun, you know, lighthearted times to the you know the more difficult, trying times. I think that's pretty much what it is for me, anyways.
Yeah, same. I'm the human quest because we were actually wondering what to title the album, and you know, we were looking at all the songs. We're like, you know, we're really talking about the trials and tribulations and the joys and the pains of life, and
Yeah.
I think that's kind of how the human quest came about. I have a song where I say I'm murdering my demons and I'm killing my inner demons to become a better person, and you know, so we tap into darker sides of, you know, overcoming your demons and overcoming pain. And some of the love songs are love songs, and some of them, you know, are like positive love songs, and then
Mhm.
some of them are also just like more the pain of love and how love can be hurtful and stuff too. But then there's the so we kind of touch a lot of love, trials and tribulations, but overall it was like this album's about the quest of the human life, and
Yeah.
that's how the album came out, the
I,
name for that.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I think it's. I feel like we're all kind of on that quest, right? The human experience and what life is about. And I'm curious. For you guys, you know, you guys are in the music business, and it's a really weird business to be in, but also very fun. But for the outs people that outside looking in, they don't understand like the process and all the things that you know that kind of goes on in the music world. I have a film background, so I understand it from a certain point of view, but I can't imagine the music world is pretty wild. You know, now that we have this technology, you know, we have AI and all the things that, you know, some people embrace it, some people don't. Um, how do you guys feel that you know the direction of the music world and the industry, is it changing for the better in favor of the artist, or do we still have a lot of work to be done?
You know, in my perspective, I think it all balances out in the end, and it's still art in the end, you know. So whatever mediums we bring to the table, like AI or whatever, will find their place in art. And so when it comes to art, it's kind of like a Reese's peanut butter cup where there's no right way to eat that Reese's peanut butter cup. It's a Reese's peanut butter cup. It's delicious, you know what I mean? And so it's art. It's not for everybody. It is for everybody, and it isn't for everybody, depending on what you know, what movie you're watching or what song you're listening to. And so that's why I believe that there's always going to be a place for the human,
Right.
in art in general. I know there's this controversy over this AI actress or something like that right now, and like that they're all talking. There's going to be more of that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's going to be
Yeah.
a lot more of that. There's all kinds of controversy over Suno taking over Spotify, and these are topics that these words might not even exist in 20 years. You know what I mean? Suno and Spotify is going to be kind of like, I don't know, oh, public television. It's like, what's that? Everybody's on YouTube now. So, I
Well,
mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah, I think similar. My opinion. So, as a DJ coming from a vinyl background, I remember how hard and long it took to beat match tracks together, and
Mm.
how much time and energy I put into that. And nowadays, with technology, you hit a button and it beat matches it for you instantly.
Wow.
And a lot of DJs hate on that, and they say, oh, this isn't real DJing. That's why everyone can be a DJ now. And
Mm.
my opinion is, you really just got to move with the times and take it with the tool. I mean, technology is going to get better and better and better. So for me, the way I took, DJing, for example, is, well, now I don't have to beat match, even though I did spend years of my life learning how to beat match.
Yeah.
I can beat match with a click of a button, but now I can work on more drumming my drums in, or scratching my scratches. So instead of like being like, oh, well, this is ruining DJing, I was like, well, I'm going to use this as a tool to better, now I can grow in other areas.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like with this AI stuff, I think if you use it as a tool but still keep it human, like Justin was saying, that's the people. And then it's also when you hear a straight like when I hear a straight AI song that's completely flawless and perfect, it sounds like a robot. Like, I like that imperfection. So
Yeah.
there's always going to be a place for human. And like, as good as AI is, you can't feel the soul in them.
Exactly.
And so when you hear like an old blues singer singing, you can feel it. So that human will always be, overshadowing the AI, in my opinion.
I absolutely agree. I completely I agree 100%. I feel like it's like you said, as good as AI is, move with the times, it's great, but it's like there's something about those old, how we used to consume music back in the day, and where it's nothing was streaming, it's just you have to actually buy the hard copy and play it on and it's just, I don't know, there's something about it, but it's also like you said, it's moving with the times. Do you feel that, there's a bunch of conversation about being an indie artist and then getting signed to a big record label, but then there's pros and cons in both. um you know being in this music world, do you feel like it's better to be, because on one side you can have more creative space and creative freedom as an indie artist, but I guess you're taking less money versus a bigger, someone who's backing you up, like a Sony or someone like that, but you don't really have that much creative space, like freedom.
right.
I don't know. What do you guys suggest? Do you think it's just whatever works for you, or do you think more people? It seems like more people more like kind of taking control of their own masters and their own music independently, which I feel like is great.
Yeah, I agree. I think the industry is kind of evolving that way, and it's inevitable that there's going to have to be some compromises that come along because the artist will have more leverage due to all these tools that we have at our disposal to be able to do it on our own. It does get to a point though where money is kind of important, and having somebody to back you up is definitely necessary. Um, so I mean, as an indie group, we love the freedom of being able to do this. We love the ability to be able to just say, okay, this thing's ready, let's go ahead, put it out. And we don't have somebody, we don't need their stamp of approval. But I think that, just like we were talking about with AI and all this other stuff, as an artist, if you take it as an artist and you adapt to the situation, you can utilize that as well, and still consider it art, still consider it expression, a new challenge presented, and and it doesn't have to last forever, a contract with a record label.
Mm.
If you do get that opportunity, you jump on it and you work with it and you always put your 110% in. And in the end, you can look back at a nice career, seasoned career of having experienced everything, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, for me, what I would see is starting as an independent and getting so much attraction that the label wants you, but you have the power to rewrite the contract in your favor.
I
I
see.
know labels definitely like to take advantage of artists. I know De La Soul is a great artist that I grew up listening to that got totally taken advantage of.
Mhm.
And so we hear about these horror stories, so we know to look out for that now with labels. But I will say, if you're making 100,000 a year and the label's going to make you 10 million a year
Yeah,
and you only get to keep 1 million, well, you're still making 900,000 more than you would have been making. So
that's true.
it's yeah, they might take 70% of the money, but they're also making you 500% more than you were. Then it's a great deal. So I think signing is important to have a back, well, like in that sense, but also being aware that they're not going to take advantage of you and then also get you in a contract that you can't get out. I know, like Justin was saying, when you sign your whole name over, that's scary. But if you sign, 2 albums over, well, okay, now we owe you 2 albums. We'll see what happens, and then we can either rewrite the contract after that or whatever.
Yeah,
But I think it's important to just beware of the labels taking advantage, and as long as you have a good team on your side, then it is beneficial to have a label back you.
absolutely. No, very well said. Yeah, I love that. Can you walk us through like how, the timeline of how the documentary and the music video for Bloodline Like Yours came to life? In this for the single?
Yeah. So so I live in North Carolina, so I'm over
Oh, nice.
here.
My brother's there too.
So I'm over here. I'm in the Raleigh area, and Polly's out there in San Diego. And so, we've been working on this album for a long time, and we all kind of came to a unanimous decision that Blood Like Yours was a real strong track, and it was ready. It was ready to go, and so was Halloween. And so we were like, what a coincidence. Let's go ahead and do it again. Let's match up Blood Like Yours with Halloween. And I sat down and I was brainstorming, and then I brought it to Polly, and I was like, hey, why don't we do this Lost Boys kind of theme on it, because it has this 80s sound to it, and we can kind of bring it there with the Lost Boys, because 1987 Lost Boys, it's a classic. And
Classic.
so we were like, let's roll with that idea. And so Polly liked it, and I sat down and I scripted it out, and then I got in touch with our videographer, and I kind of gave him the idea. I was like, hey, let's do this. And so yeah, that there. And then as I was doing, I was like, you know what, we should do a documentary on this. Like, let's go ahead and just like document the entire experience so that we can try to, put other people there, and so that they can kind of see the process of how something like this is put together. And so they came together very nicely. Now, certain things didn't work out the way we really wanted them to. Like, ideally, because I was out there for a temporary amount of time, I wasn't able to get certain scenes in. Like, I wanted to be there for the bridge
Mm.
scene, but unfortunately, it worked out the way it did, which I'm actually happy about. I think Polly and Travis did a great job on that scene. It actually like brought out a little bit of slapstick comedy to a certain degree. I thought that was really cool. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think again, just naturally, it just kind of happened the way it did. It was scripted out, but then we let people do what they do, and it just came together.
Yeah, we definitely just like naturally everyone had their own little element that added. So it wasn't sometimes when you have a vision of something, it may not be exactly as you want it to be, but it's I feel like the gods are guiding you in the right direction, and so it comes out the way it's supposed to be. And that's where I think like yeah, like adding the comedy element and all that. And then the like Justin said with the documentary, we're rebranding our band. We took a pretty big gap of space to create this, and now we're deciding to come back. So we wanted to kind of put the fans with us behind the scenes to show that, and also just more connection to us of who we are now as people from when they, because we had a good fan base back then, but it's like now showing people, we're different now,
Yeah.
and we're better now. And so this is, and then also just having the documentary, we did some interviews and stuff to explain all that.
That's
So I
awesome.
think the documentary was good for all that stuff.
That's really cool. I'm sure the fans love that, like just seeing, like you said, that's really cool. I love asking this question, and there's no wrong answer, I promise. But the three levels of influence: money, power, and respect. And if you could choose only one of those things, which one would you choose and why?
Oh boy, if I could only choose one of those things, I mean,
No wrong
I
answer.
think, well, but I do think the moral answer and like the real, uh, when you look back at the end of your life, the answer is going to be respect. I mean, I think that's kind of what you do unto others, is you would want done unto you, kind of way you live your life. But that to decide, I think money is very helpful. So I mean, but yes, respect is above all, is doing things respectfully, doing them in a moral way, in a way that you feel good about it in the end, and that other people respect you for it, and then having respect for others in the way that you do it. So I think that's a very important thing. And then money, they say, can't buy happiness, but it sure can get you the car that will lead you in a direction that you can maybe make yourself a little bit more happy, because it buys you that time to go explore those things that make you happy.
Yeah,
Power, I don't know, power over my own life. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Power
Well,
over other people, you can have that.
so I used to always say, which I still live by, is that I'd rather have millions and millions of fans than millions and millions of dollars. And that I would choose respect in that sense over, if I had to pick one for sure. They all play a role, obviously, but and with millions, for me to have my music just heard and have real fan base is way more important than having money, in my opinion. And also, when you do have that, you can create money anyways. So I would choose respect and just having people, you know, I I like when I get chills when I hear a song, or when I hear a song and it makes me cry and it pulls these emotions and it heals me and it heals my soul, and how, I feel like music really helps save lives from, suicidal thoughts and depression and all of that. And that to me is way more valuable than power or money. So when you can save a life with your music, or you can give someone tears, or you can give them chills, or they get married to your song or whatever, that is more valuable than any amount of money. And that's power in itself, when someone just respects you as an artist. So I think money is like he said, it can get you there, but respect is overall what every artist should strive for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great answers, guys. I love the answers. What advice would you give to that person out there that's trying to get into the music world?
Well, do it because you love it, and always make sure that you love what you're doing. Don't do something because you think other people are going to like it. Do it because you feel good about it, and don't ever do something out of fear. Do it because it makes you smile or makes you excited. That's my motto in life. Follow your smile. And
Mm,
so you can apply that to basically anything, but especially music, because music can really get confusing the deeper you get into the rabbit hole of the music industry, where you start losing sight of who you were. You lose track of where you came from, and don't forget where you came from, and always keep your mental health and your just physical mental health first, and everything else should follow.
I love that.
Yeah, I would say do music for you, not for the fans. Make stuff you love. Don't worry about the fans. Don't worry about getting rich or famous, or just do what makes you feel good, what's the best thing that you can do for yourself, you know, because I've noticed when you make something for someone else, people tend to not like it anyways, but when you make something for yourself, that's when people really gravitate towards the music.
Yeah.
So just don't worry about anything except for pleasing yourself. You know, have fun, please yourself, and just so happens you'll probably get a lot of fans that way.
I love that.
One last side note though is that doesn't mean that you shouldn't understand what you're doing and put the time into learning how to do it better and craft it more precisely and to be able to put that message across whatever you're trying to do in a more professional, precise way, because ultimately in the end, it's kind of what you leave behind.
Yeah.
And so if you want other people to pick it up and listen to it and get something out of it, like we're talking about, it's best to understand how to do it.
Right. That's right. Absolutely. Oh, this is a great conversation. I really enjoyed this. Where can people find you on social media to follow everything you have going on?
Well, we're on Instagram, so we're just at Third Borough, 3RDBOROUGH. We're going to have all those social links on our website, thirdborough.com, spelled the same way. We're on YouTube right now. We're really pushing YouTube, so please go onto YouTube and subscribe and all that good stuff. Like the video. Also, though, just if you can, people, on the upcoming 100, if you look up upcoming 100, you can vote for us and you can push us to the top of that 100 chart. And we're like last time I checked, we're like number 8.
All
So
right.
we're climbing up there. We're making it. So yeah, it would be really helpful if people voted for us. We're on TikTok too. So
Awesome. All right, everybody go vote, support, and thank you so much for, blessing our show today. I really enjoyed our conversation. Really quick, one word, how would you describe this song?
I would use passion.
Ooh, I like it.
one word. That's a great question. One word. I'll just describe it with love.
Ooh, I like that. Passion and love. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I had a pleasure. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you. Peace.
Thank you.